pressure, the city angels meet, making a stand against the odds. You can feel the heat. It's making or breaking. Try to survive. Don't ever say never. Keep your dream alive. Around the clock, we're gonna rock to the rhythm of the street. Down the block, around the clock. The city angels meet.
Hey, what's up, everybody? It's Friday night, so you know what that means. It's time for another episode of the Ghost Files. And this, wait a second. Is this my channel? Where the hell am I? What is this? Start. It's you.
He's Blake. All the Good Names Are Taken podcast. I'm Ronnie with our special guest, Vincent DiSanti, acclaimed director. Acclaimed director, ladies man about town. He played Axel in one of those Friday the 13th movies. He's great, and we're glad he said yes to coming on. I had no idea, though, you were going to say no Ghost Files tonight. Like, we planned this for after the Ghost Files. Like, we try not to step on your toes with the 4 or 5 people that watch our channel.
It was finally the week that caught up to me where I was actually looking forward to jumping on with you guys and being able to hang out. And I was like rocking all day at work and worked late and got home literally a half hour before I would have had to stream, and I would have had no energy. And I wanted to save all my energy for you. So I figured I did a few weeks in a row. I could take a week off. I'll come back next week. We're going to do that raffle for the people who are going to be added to the the prop list from Never Hike Alone 2. So that will be the next episode of Ghost Files. But I was like, go home. I was just toast. Man, we keep sliding all around.
Yeah, I'm trying to figure out. I had 2 streams.
You had an earthquake today in Boston or whatever, in Jersey.
Where are you at right now? What part? What coast? West or east?
East Coast.
It's been a while since you've been on. We try to keep it as distant as possible because we realize we're a lot. But the first thing I wanted to do, because we haven't discussed it, and the last time we left each other, you said, "Hey guys, contact me. I want to know what you guys think of Never Hike Alone 2." And of course, we never contacted you to let you know, but we did watch it. And as we were watching it, or as I was watching it, Blake texts me and goes, "Have you seen the credits?" And I was like, "No, I turned it off after 5 minutes." But anyway, Blake, was that you or Nick Push that sent that message?
That was me, Ronnie. That was me, because I was like, why would you pay to have our name in the credits, Ronnie? Why would you do that?
And I said, I haven't paid a dime. So you were nice enough to put the name of our show into your credits. And I guess we never got a chance to say thank you. Have no idea why you would do that. You had been on the show twice at that point, and it may have been a mistake. If that was the case, don't scrub it out. But thank you for putting us in there. We really appreciate that.
Well, good. Thank you for letting me know. We'll make sure to fix that for the final release that's coming out. I got credit fixes this week, so that really helped. No, I mean, the people who ended up in that list were people who I had come across during that journey of making Never Hike Alone 2 that encouraged me. You know what I mean? Like, I think that people really, I mean, I don't know what the perception is from the outside, honestly. I just know what it's like living in this never-ending cycle of this Friday the 13th fan film that's taken over my life, and like the million ways that it has almost crashed and burned to the ground in a million different ways for a million different reasons. And we sort of have saved the film from the brink of disaster multiple times. And I'm usually just like in between checking in and doing podcasts and all that stuff. And like, there's only so much that I let people know, but along the way, it's like days where I'm like, man, can I keep doing this? And then I come on a podcast like this and I hang out and I talk for a little while. I get re-energized. And so you guys really re-energized me. You made me laugh like a shit ton. Like during our interviews, I look forward to coming on with you guys and talking to you on social media. So yeah, I mean, that you guys are much well-deserved thanks because you were a big uplift for me during a very, very hard time in my life trying to get that movie.
Ronnie, look how good he looks compared to the last time he was on with us. Are you back on the gas or what?
Yeah.
He does look like 1,000 times better. He may have been stressed out.
He does, man.
Yeah, I was stressed out. Plus the mustache is thicker.
Yeah.
So I think that's part of it too. I got the Burt going. I'm doing the thinner beard with the thicker mustache. I'm trying to live a little bit more officer playboy in my actual life. So just living up to the dream, man. And I think it's this cool little Wi-Fi bulb that I have that's making it seem like there's a campfire in here.
Yeah,
I'm actually just burning alive in my house.
So you've been doing live streams on your channel for the last like 3 or 4 or 5 weeks, however many it's been. So my first question as we start this process, by the way, Blake, I'm glad you're here. I'm sorry about your tech issues. We're supposedly live on YouTube, Instagram, and X right now. So we'll see what happens. And we'll get to the chat here in a second. Because
the tech issues wouldn't be that bad if you didn't stress me out so much 30 minutes before we come on. You know my situation over here. You know I don't know what any of this stuff is. And anytime we're ready to go live, none of it works. Like none of it. It's all plugged in, turned on, and none of it works.
I thought it was my issue because I'm sitting here and it said 2 minutes to game time. And neither one of you are here. So I was like, okay, maybe I screwed up. So I send out the invites again, and Vin sends the most rude damn, I'm coming, Jesus. And I was like, all right, calm down. And you never even text back. So I just walked into my wife. I was like, I don't know what the hell's going to happen. If neither one of them show up, we're still going to play the questions for Vinny. I'll answer them. I'll still go through the PowerPoint with all the best cards from Friday the 13th. What a topic. And we'll have a great time. Vinny,
Look at that.
We are live on Twitch as well.
Ooh.
And a little text-to-speech action. Here we go.
Vinny, I was wondering why you never let Jason screw. He's been trying so hard since 1981, and you should have let him screw some.
Great question, Vinny. We know Never Hike Alone 2 was great. And like the listener said, since 1981, Jason's been trying to screw. So as an artist, where was your mindset when you decided against letting that happen and Never Hike Alone 2?
Well, I figured it, and by the time we got into the story of Never Hike Alone 2, or even like the whole Never Hike Alone saga, starting with Disappear, it had fallen off long years ago. So I think if anything, it's going to go the other way around. He's going to be the receiver. And I don't know if that's what Jason goes for. I don't think that's his kink. I don't think that's what he's into. But I don't know. Maybe we'll start him maybe Never Hike Alone 3 will give him an OnlyFans.
Oh, there you go. Everybody's
Kyle McLeod helps him. Yeah, Kyle McLeod goes from trail hiking to OnlyFans because that's basically the only avenue he has left. Yeah, and I think that Jason sees it. Maybe it opens up the feelings, and he's like, "Listen, I haven't had anything there for a while, so maybe it's time to use what I've got and go the other way around." So maybe we will. Maybe we'll open up Jason's spectrum.
Blake, you said you could not hear that.
No, I didn't hear anything. I just chalked it up to faulty tech over here on my end.
Well, I'm going to try something else real quick, Blake, and let's see if you can hear this, because looking at the chat, we do have a super chat. So before we get there, let's play this real quick. Uh-oh, Blake, technical difficulties. Hold on a second. Are you ready, Blake?
Sure.
Let me know if you can hear it.
Yeah, I got that.
Okay, I'm glad you could hear it, because I would hate for you to miss out on the channel member questions later on that we're going to get to Vin. Bud donates 99 cents, going all out. The dude literally makes $600,000 a year in the oil field or whatever he does, and he donates $1. Thank you, Bud. We will enjoy that. You made Vin spit, so that's good. Let's check out the chat real quick and see who we got in here. Blake, Bud, obviously, Martin Henderson. Blake, do we know this guy? Do we owe him money?
Probably. Oh, no, we don't know him.
Jeff freaking out over being towed. Max wasn't having that S. Darren from the Slaughtered Lamb drinking a little rum, or what do they drink over in England at 1 o'clock in the morning?
Tea.
That's what I'm drinking.
And Allie's in the chat saying happy Friday. I think that she is an official Vinny groupie. So there you go, Vinny. That's one good thing. Brutal Bob's in the chat, and he says Blake's glasses are filthy.
See, I thought that was a compliment at first, and then he literally said that they were smudgy.
Yeah, then he follows up with smudgy. So there you go, wordsmith.
Oh, that's so good.
Death Ray, who is quickly becoming, Blake, one of my favorite YouTube channels to follow. He's pale. He's got the good voice. He's got the beard. He is smart enough to know that YouTube is full of perverts and idiots that will listen to anything or watch anything as long as a woman is involved. So he's bringing on a woman, his wife. So he's going to pass us all up in subs and dollars and all that. That dude is a genius. All right. And we've got our boy Nick. And I didn't want to do this in front of Vinny. Nick, I know you put in a request for us to watch the movie Top Secret as your movie review for being a channel member. I watched 30 minutes of it, Nick, and I could not finish it. Blake refuses to watch it.
No, I watched it. I watched it. That is a big pile of shit. To quote Jeff Goldblum, that is awful. Nick, I mean, you're supposed to be our buddy. Why would you put us through that?
Nick, please pick a different movie. I will review it. I know Darren yelled at me and said, this is a classic. It's the Airplane guy. And I'm like, this is not Airplane. This is not Naked Gun. This is the dude from Top Gun. I didn't like it. I just wanted to kill myself.
There's
anyway,
a character named Nigel that's really good in it, Ronnie. But other than that, the movie is awful.
We'll do it for you, Nick, because we're all about helping people and doing the right thing. But please pick another movie. All right. So
Nick is so offended. He's like, what? That's so funny.
Here we go. I want to talk a little bit about Never Hike Alone 2 before we get into the top cars of Friday the 13th. And Vinny, I'm going to say this. I went into the movie and I said, I'm going to be not biased because I like the guy. And I'm at the end of the movie, I'm going to tell my wife what I think about this because she knows Friday the 13th is one of my favorite franchises, in particular Part 6. And how you've branched off from that. And I watched the movie, and in the back of my head, the last time we talked, I had said, this idiot is going to kill Tommy Jarvis, and he's going to ruin my childhood just because he's got to make his artistic statement. And I'm watching it, and I keep waiting, and I'm like, okay, maybe now we've entered a part of the movie where I'm like, there's no way he can kill him. Okay, because now and then you didn't kill Tommy Jarvis. Thank you. I should have known Tom Matthews. Probably had to tell you on set, look, kid, change that shit right now. That's not going to work for me, brother. All right. So it's probably a rewrite. And if that's the case, you don't have to say anything.
Thank you, Tom.
Thank you, Tom. But I say all that to say this. My favorite parts of the movie were the fact that Jason tracked them to the hospital. I really liked that part of the movie. You doing that was, I really enjoyed that. And the thing that you did that I don't know if you intended to do or if that was the plan all along, but you have opened the door for Friday the 13th movies to be made that don't have to have any continuity to them, because you turned Jason into the ghost story for Crystal Lake. So Even the backstory with him drowning the mom, Pamela, all that, that's there. But going forward, if they wanted to make a Friday the 13th film every year and not have it connect to each other, all you have to do is what you explained. Jason is a ghost to that area. You can kill him, but he keeps coming back. And I really love that spin that you put on there, even though Jason meets his demise at the end of it, and it's a great ending. Spoiler alert. Jason,
it's been out for 6 months.
Jason meets his demise. Somebody could piggyback off of that. You could have a whole new set of characters, and Jason could show up with this new mythology, and you would understand it because he is now a ghost and supernatural, and his spirit and his mother's spirit haunts Crystal Lake. I really enjoyed that part of it.
Yeah, I think it really simplifies him, and I think that part of it too is that like it can in a way that like it kind of closes off that Paramount era for me. It's like in a way that like that sort of lid never got put on that jar. They sort of like missed it. Like they went to go put the lid in the jar with Jason Goes to Hell and they whiffed. And then so they did that, and then they come out and they do Jason X, which is another sort of like out of left field thing. And we never really got sort of like that real closure for Jason. And so you can kind of like let go of all those other storylines now. Like everything from those first 8 or that I really consider to be the Jason that I know is sort of like, for me, I'm now more open to new ideas. Like I feel like the old idea finally got finished. Like, and that's what I was trying to do, was just finish an idea that never really sort of had an end. And by doing that, it unlocks it for the fact of like, now you understand, people I think have a better idea of like how it works and how it can work. And, Jason, the bubbles come up at the end. Really all it's saying is that like, in my head, it was Jason is at rest. Yeah, he farted. He burped. Yeah. He held in the fart and it came out as a burp. And no, but that if anything, he's at rest. And that he's finally like let some shit go. But if he got disturbed, he would come back. And that's sort of now the simplification of it. It's like nobody really has to be connected. It's like the stories can be sort of individual stories about people's encounters with Jason, which is sort of what the Never Hike Alone mantra was. It was about individual people's stories with this character. And when we had no money, we were making up characters. And when we finally got some money, we took a character that had history and developed it. And so it was a fun sort of like exploration of being able to create original things for Friday the 13th and also tie it into things that actually existed that made it feel like all one seamless story.
Blake, the current Peter North poll is, do you prefer Vin with long hair or short hair? Put it in the chat. And if you haven't liked the stream yet, get your ass over there and smash the like button like Tommy Jarvis smashed the head right off Jason's shoulders so we can get a little attention on the stream. Share it as well.
Ronnie, I wanted – go ahead.
I was going to ask you, did I have you fooled for a little bit?
Yes.
Yeah. Okay, good. I wanted that. Like, but I guess Tommy always lived. Like, I thought about killing Tommy for like a mere second, but I knew that that's just not what fans want. And like, again, this is where I think a lot of directors in Hollywood really need to sort of like take their medicine and realize like, it's not your job to be edgy. It's your job to give the fans what they expect and want. Like, and your job is to make it feel good and natural and earned and not cheap. That's the duty. It's not to surprise people and do things that you never saw coming. In that sort of sense, but you got to give them that feeling of like, it's going to get close. You know what I mean? You can use that as a tool to get emotion out of people because you're hanging on that. You see it fade away. You go through all this story about loss and all these different things and talking about all these dead bodies and all these people who died. And slowly but surely we unravel like the yarn of saying like, well, Anna gets her resolution. Kyle has his resolution, but what happened to Tommy? And you get that, and the reveal too of it. It's sort of like, it's so poetic and it's so nice to see him down at the dock, finishing the movie, where it started. which I think is like, I don't know, I really like that sort of technique and doing those types of things, and it really feeling like closure. And I think that fans who have been fans of Tommy for a long time, they wanted that for him and they wanted that for the series, and that's what I wanted to deliver.
Blake, what were your thoughts on Never Hike Alone 2? Be brutally honest.
I liked it. I wanted to do an episode shortly after of us trying to find all the Easter eggs he put in there. And I thought maybe we could even have Vinny on, or maybe Vinny don't want to give away all the Easter eggs. He wants us to find it for himself. But I did find like 2 or 3 that I really liked. And one of them was a file on a computer. I know you probably know what I'm talking about. And the other that I really liked is how close they made the actor in the dream sequence look like Tommy Jarvis from Part 4.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
I remember when that trailer first came out, or the partial trailer, whatever you called it, Van. You had Tommy walking out on the dock, and everybody assumed that was Tommy's son getting grabbed and pulled under. And I'm sitting there going, they tried to make this little kid look like Corey Feldman. That's Tommy. He's seeing himself get pulled under by Jason.
Yeah.
And so, I mean, top notch.
You know, I think a lot of people too are sort of like, they're casual viewers of Friday the 13th. So that's what they see. They see a little boy, they see a son. I think it's going to be cool if Never Hike Alone puts them on a deeper, you know, Friday the 13th dive. They give a couple more films a watch, and then all of a sudden they see that kid in Part 4. It's going to finally connect for people. And I sort of wish I could be in the room for the people that it does finally connect. They're like, wait a fucking second, that's a Corey Feldman clone. Like, holy shit. Like, look how close it, like, then appreciating how close Horace Stevie looks to him. And then just appreciating, like, that now all of a sudden that making so much more sense, because that was supposed to be how young Tommy originally found out about Jason. Kids told him about it at school, you know, and it's Tommy as an adult trying to protect his childhood, the childhood that he never got to have because Jason ruined it. And
Van, real quickly, the Twitch chat is text-to-speech is firing up again. So let's see what we've got going on right here.
Vincent, I was just wondering what you were thinking by not having any titties in your movies. The old rule of horror was that you have to have at least one nipple in your flick, but what do I know? I only went to USC Film School.
There you go. That's John. He said he went to USC Film School. Nick, explain yourself.
Oh.
Not Nick, Van. Explain.
I was like, wait, who's Nick?
I'm thinking about Nick Push.
These films are on YouTube. And the fastest way to not get views is to put nudity in it and then get deemed as an adult, you know, thing. Yeah. I'm also a big proponent of, I think the nipple rule in horror films is stupid as hell. I think it was built for the 80s when people could not get fast access to porn. They actually had to go to places and buy tapes. If they could put it in an R-rated movie, it was a way for people to see naked bodies. And that was a big deal back in the day. Putting a naked body in a movie used to mean something. Putting a naked body in a movie now, I mean, I don't know if you saw Poor Things, but no, she's, you know, just running around the entire movie nude. And none of it is, and she's even doing sexual acts, and none of it even seems sexual, because it's just so casual to see people nude now because of the way it is. So why do I need to put it in my movie when that's not what's going to generate the views? And I don't want that to generate the views. I want the views to generate because the story is compelling, because it's worth watching, because the effects are cool, because it's a good movie. Like, the boobs thing is a cheap move. It's a move. It's an easy move. You know what I mean? And I don't want to and I don't know. I just feel like it just undercuts everything. And if it's not natural, I don't know. That was never Friday to me. And I always got embarrassed watching the movies as a kid, because I would be like, fuck, if my parents come in right now, like, I'm going to get in trouble.
You got to pull your pants up.
And it always just reminds me of that feeling of like, fuck. Yeah, I mean, like, I can't get my pants up that fast. Like, so it always just reminds me of that feeling. And I'm just like, I don't need it. Like, give me another kill scene before you do this. Or if you're going to do it, like, if I had an hour rating and I was putting it in the theaters, you know, the type of sex scenes that I write wouldn't be what you saw in 2009, where the girl's like rubbing lotion on her boobs. Like, hey, this is a Friday the 13th movie, right? Gotta do what the kids like. It's like, what? What
Please
movie
tell
is
me you would do it like they did in, was it Blake Part 9? Was it Jason Goes to Hell with the T-post and the tent scene?
Yeah.
That's
Yeah,
similar.
at least that was cinematic, and it ended up it worked into the gag. You know what I mean? I think they did a good job working into the gag. The only thing that doesn't work about it, it's not Jason doing it. It's just some dude. It's like, what is the coroner at that point? It's
The
kind
guy
of
from
like,
Rocky 4.
yeah. So I mean, he's like, split you and I'll sue. You know what I mean? He's just.
God damn.
I love that movie. I love that character. Touch me and I'll sue.
Come on, Pug. Touch me and I'll say,
I'm
hey,
sorry, Rocky 5. What am I saying?
Blake,
Yeah,
we've
no,
got
but
another
I knew what
super
you were
chat.
talking about.
We've got
I knew
another
you were
super
talking
chat, guys.
Okay, send it in.
Bud has graciously donated another $1.99 to the stream. All of these proceeds will be going to get Vinny's lights turned back on. So there you go. We have that going for us. Vinny, you were talking filthy earlier. And like I said, before we get to the best cars in the Friday the 13th franchise, because I promise people, look, it's there. I promise. Well, look at this right here. I've got a whole thing right here. Okay. It's there. But we want to talk to our buddy for just a few minutes first. Okay. But we opened it up, Vinny. Vinny just rolls his eyes every time I say this. We opened it up to channel members only, people who support All the Good Names Are Taken, to ask a very important director a question of their choosing. Okay. So let me pull this up because I was telling you earlier, I'm not the most fleet of foot when it comes to this. But this particular member, Keys, has been a channel member for 11 months. And he was so excited to ask you these questions that he had it in early this morning. So here we go.
Hey, Santa. Hey, Vinny. I was just wondering, what is the most amount of you've ever had at one time? Thanks.
What was beeped? Ass?
Head. I think if I had to go, I don't know. This is. I'll play it again, but I think the missing word was HEAD.
Hey, Santa. Hey, Vinny. I was just wondering, what is the most amount of you've ever had at one time? Thanks.
I mean, I know I can't answer that.
I don't know how you would answer that.
I know. I don't think you could. It doesn't split into multiple mouths.
Is it a number?
Yeah. I have like a ticket taper. Like you could take a number.
Yeah.
It's like the meat deli. I'm out there like, hey.
Thanks, Keys, for being a member.
Thanks for being a member.
I like how he called me.
Santa.
No, he
Santa.
referred to himself as Santa. I think I don't know what's going on there.
That was the other thing too. Davey Deathray says it hash, which is also a possibility. I could tell you the story about the time that I got the highest that I ever got.
All right, let's listen. Okay, let's go. We try to keep the channel clean, but tell us.
Yeah, sure. Okay. So the first time I ever bought weed in California, when you can get a license by going to a doctor and saying you had like, I can't sleep. Like I have insomnia, I have trouble sleeping, I have aches and all that stuff. So, and all you had to say is they would prescribe you. So I went to this place on Venice Beach, and I was like, immediately when I got there, I was like, this is a mistake. Because I was just sitting in there, and when you like look around of like the people that you're sitting with, and you're like, is this who I am now? Like, is this me? Like, am I just, is this these are my peers? Like, we're all down here doing the same thing. And then like 10 minutes later, this dude calls me into what is basically a closet, checks my pulse, checks my heart rate, asks me what I have, gives me a license, and I go upstairs and I can buy weed. I'm officially a licensed weed holder. I buy like whatever just to get, like quick little eighth of something. And then as you're walking out, they had a hash bar. And I literally had $7 left. And for $7, you could get the most potent like bong with like hash in it to go. And I was like, let's celebrate. We're down by the beach. We'll go walk on the beach. We'll jump in the water. It'll be fun. The name of this weed was called Lucid Dream. And they put it in something called an ice bong, which I had never seen before. And when you take a hit on the ice bong, it cools all of the smoke. And so you can't even tell you're inhaling stuff. So I was literally just inhaling this for like 20 seconds straight, not realizing that I was actually pulling. And I was like, oh shit. So she pulled the cap, and I like, there was so much smoke in my lungs. I don't know what the hell happened. I was coughing forever. 2 minutes later, I couldn't even see straight. Like, I didn't know where I was. Like, I didn't know what I was doing. And I was like, I got to go outside. And I went down the steps, and it was like in this, like, I don't know if you guys have ever been to Venice Beach, or if you've been to like any
We've never
place
been
in
out
the
in
city.
Mississippi.
Oh, well. In, well, any place like they're doing construction where it's like kind of all like walled in and it's all paneling. Like, it was all that type of stuff leading out to the street. And all I could see was the bright light at the end of the street, which was, it looked like the rays of like the actual sun. And I stepped out into Venice Beach, and I couldn't see shit. I couldn't walk. I didn't know what the hell was going on. It was so bright. I couldn't do anything. And I just sat down on the curb, and I was like, oh my God. And I'll never forget this as long as I live. As I'm sitting there trying to figure out like where I am, what's going on, this little fat kid walks by, looks me right dead in the face, and he goes, drugs are bad. And just keeps walking. And I was like, you little shit. And yeah, but they were that day, and that was the highest I'd ever been. And after that, I had never, not that I don't still smoke, but like never again with that.
I was in Colorado a couple of weeks ago, and I came so close to trying my first edible or gummy or whatever it's called.
Sickening.
But at the last second, I chickened out and bought a Subway sandwich instead.
There you go. Another channel member question coming to Van. Here you go, Van.
Hey, Vinny. My question is, I wanted to ask if there was an event back when you were younger that you can look back on now and know that that was the point where you were like, this is what I want to do. I want to make movies. And also, I just wanted to let you know you're amazing. Just keep doing what you're doing, and one of these days you're going to hit it big. Thanks.
That was Allie, who's a channel member. So there you go.
Yes, I recognize Allie. How you doing, Allie? Thank you for that. When did I realize it?
It was 9/11.
Yeah, it was. Yeah, as soon as it hit the tower.
As soon as that Alan Jackson song came out,
I was like, "Who's holding this camera?" I'm jealous.
Great cinematography on Tower 2.
Yeah, great angles. No, I think for me, it was like, I always knew I wanted to do stuff with film. I did a lot of stuff with it when I was a kid. I always did like video projects, but when it really made sense to me was in college. I was playing baseball. My shoulder was about to go out for like the second time. I wasn't having fun anymore. And I just was sitting in editorial one day, like doing an editing class, and I just fell in love with it. And I realized that I finally had the tools that I never had before, because everything I did as a kid trying to emulate movies was editing and tape. I was filming with a DVR camera, like cutting, like basically getting a take. And if it wasn't good enough, rewinding, overdoing it, because I didn't have the tools to cut. So finally being able to film stuff and cut things together and play with footage, I realized that that's what I wanted to do. And that's how I wanted to make my career. And so ever since I'd say about, probably my junior year of college, I really realized that I didn't want to be in journalism. I didn't want to play baseball. I really wanted to work in film, and I needed to focus on that. And I actually stopped playing ball. I went full in on, getting all the rest of my film credits, and moved to LA a year later.
He was smoking hash out by the sidewalk before he knew it.
And then, then 2 years later, I became a dirty hippie. Yeah, because before that, like, honestly, like, I didn't drink till I got to college. I didn't smoke weed until after I stopped playing baseball. And really, I probably should have smoked it a lot earlier in my life, because it calmed me way down. I'm still super intense, but you should have seen me before this. I was like uber intense. So I don't know. It was sort of like I just sort of followed that passion out to the West Coast and made a life out of it.
All right, so let's get to the topic of the video, which is the best cars. Blake, Blake said it earlier. When Blake did the announcement, the emergency press conference after you agreed to come on today, Van, he starts laughing at the end of the video because he's a grown man saying, hey, this week's topic, best cars in Friday the 13th.
Best cars, man.
We're going to bring it up, and we're going to talk the best cars. And don't worry, we've got plenty of channel members left to ask questions. I'm sure the Twitch chat will be text to speech or whatever it's called it up. You guys, if you have questions in the chat, we'll get to those if I can remember. But
Ronnie, if I don't react to the Twitch, it's not because it's not funny. I don't hear anything when you play that.
yeah, I got the 27 texts you sent me, but you
got that?
Yeah, John from USC asked a question about nudity, and our buddy Arnold asked about Jason never getting a chance to SCREW. So that's what's happened. You can listen back and play. And guys, I'm gonna be one of those guys. I've been watching a lot of live chats. I've been watching a guy born to be rad. He's talking about all his 8,000 DVDs and slip covers. I don't even know what a slip cover is, but he's always saying stuff like share and like for the chat. I really don't know what any of that means, but I'm going to mention that in from time to time. I even saw Vinny. And before we get into this, Vinny, I got one question I want to ask. You're doing these live streams now, and Vinny was talking about Israel and Hamas, and the only answers he ever got were, hey, when are you going to make another Friday the 13th movie? What's your next idea? He never got the full discussion about who was right or who was wrong. He was talking the border, and all they would ask is, are you going to bring Tom Matthews back for Ghost Files Part 8? I mean, do you ever get tired of the people in the chat being, just focusing on one thing?
You got to say no.
No, I mean, like, that is there for people to do whatever they want. You know what I mean? Like, I open that up because I know people want to ask questions, and I like that. I like when people are, want to ask questions about something that I spent 8 years of my life on. You know what I mean? Like, it would suck if I did all that work and people were like, "That's cool. Let's talk about Hamas." You know what I mean? Like, I don't like. Each week I'm gonna try to bring something to it. Like next week it may just be the raffle. People ask me questions about what we're gonna do next, what I've been up to. Eventually we'll get to new stuff and people can ask me questions about what's coming up. But if somebody had just watched it yesterday or had been waiting a year to ask a question and finally decided that, oh my God, the Ghost Files is there, I can actually ask them a question like a Q&A. I'd love for them to ask me whatever they want. I have no problem with that. And I have to say that, like, I've been on the film circuit for a little while, and I've done a lot of like Q&As and a lot of like panels and stuff like that. And I have to say that, like, one of the things I couldn't wait to do when I went to these film panels was talk about film and talk about making film and talk about strategy and all this stuff. And for 3 years, all we talked about was like, and no, I don't mean this in like a negative way, but all we really talked about was diversity and inclusivity and like all these things that like are great, but when can we talk about the actual process of making films? Because if you want people to be included and you want people to be out there and go and do it, maybe they should come to a panel and learn how to do it. And then everybody can learn how to do it and everybody can do this. But if we just talk about that, yeah, you should be allowed to do it. Well, they still don't know what to do. Or, it's like, if people want to, like, let's talk about the secrets of how things get made. And that's sort of one of the reasons why I wanted to do it, because I wanted to be able to be like, let's just talk about film. Let's talk about things in movies. Let's talk about the reasons why we're here and the subjects that we actually really care about. So yeah.
I watched Quiet on the Set. I know how stuff gets made.
Yeah. What do you think about that, Vinny?
I'm not surprised. I'm just, I think it's weird, the behavior that people get away with at that level. You hear stories, you sort of see certain things, you hear horror stories from certain sets, and then like, you just kind of like, you witness it sometimes in certain ways, and it just makes you scratch your head like that.
Yeah.
It really, it made me question a lot about like who does what, but I've fortunately worked for a bunch of companies that didn't have any issues. But you just hear the stories, and then you just see some, like, there was, I don't know if I can really talk about it, but I know that there was one director that was going to come into a studio that I was working with, and it was like almost well known that they liked 15-year-old boys. And they were going to have this whole clause that nobody could talk about and all this stuff. And we never ended up making a deal, and that movie never came to the studio. And I just never forgot that. I was like, there were executives talking about it in a way that was sort of like, yeah, so we just got to blah, 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 and just make sure that like this is in the deal and like all that stuff. And it was like, why are you guys even fucking discussing this? Like, this is crazy.
It's nuts. But on the other side of the coin, it's like, why are you so cute? You know?
Yeah.
Hey, look, we've got a question right here in the chat. It says, hey, Vin, big fan. Would you let the fat guy from Nickelodeon molest you if it meant you could direct the next studio Friday the 13th movie?
Now, Van, don't answer right away. Don't answer right away. I want you to really think about this, okay?
Nobody would ever know.
Let's do some improv here. I'm knocking on your door. You gonna answer, Vinny?
Yeah, hello.
Hey, Vinny, it's good to see you. How are you? Can I come in?
Yeah, come on in. Come on in, Dan.
I like what you've done with the place. Is that shag carpet over there?
Matches the drapes.
Okay. Listen, I just left Pixar, and it was a really good meeting.
Oh, wow.
They're wanting to give you the next Friday the 13th movie without a budget. And if it's successful, you get the rights to all the sequels. You get first dibs on the sequels. You can make the video game.
Mm-hmm.
You just have to now start breathing heavy. You have to play ball, Vinny.
Well, I guess my only question is it the front or the back?
It's whatever you give me.
That means yes. That response, right? We have our answer. The answer is yes. The fun thing about that fat guy from Nickelodeon is he played the loser in Better Off Dead. He's the one that does the fence fight with John Cusack over the foreign exchange student girl. That's how I know him. That whole documentary ruined that whole movie for me. So I'm really mad at the people that made that documentary. I've seen people on YouTube, like the guy that played Donkey Lips and the guy that played what's his name, Goldberg the goalie. They're out there saying they wish they would have gotten hit on, but I don't even think that fat guy was that.
Did they really say that?
Yeah, Goldberg did. Ronnie sent me the link.
He's out there making jokes over this. Guys, look, come on. We got stuff.
Nobody likes jokes.
Cars in the Friday the 13th franchise. Here
One
we
of the
go.
best characters too, right there.
Look at the sexy stud right there on that left, Blake. He's jacked up. He probably just met Darren at a convention where Darren walks up and says, "Hey, you want to?" Blake, do the Darren impression. Ask if he wants to be on this show. Take the piss out of him.
Oi, Vinny. First off, it wasn't me who asked that inappropriate question. That was all Ronnie and Blake, okay? Listen, if you're not doing anything, I would love for you to come on our channel and do a spot. What do you say?
I'm down. I'm in.
What do you think he benches, Ronnie? Look how jacked Vinny is in that picture. You think he's throwing up 275?
I think that dude does 50 push-ups before he walks out there and lets all those dirt balls walk up and talk to him and stuff like that. I would say right now, Vin probably could get down on the bench press, and he probably could rep 225 anywhere between 7 and 12 times.
Jeez.
You really think I could do that?
Yeah, you look jacked, brother. I know I can do it, so I just assume everybody can do it.
Oh, I was told to ask about that Yankees hat, Vin, because I know you're a Patriots fan.
Mm-hmm.
So what's with the Yankees hat?
So I have the proof. I grew up a Yankees fan because my family's split down the middle.
Yeah,
my
so did my parents.
Yeah. So my uncle's a huge Yankee fan. He grew up a big Mantle fan, DiMaggio. They were all Italian, so like Italian family watched the Italians playing for the Yankees. But my grandfather, his dad was, a big Red Sox fan. So I grew up watching like Mike Greenwell, Dwight Evans, Wade Boggs, and Wade Boggs, Don Mattingly, and my uncle could all be like related. Like that's how much they all like kind of like my uncle looked like Wade Boggs and Don Mattingly on TV because of the mustache. And so I just sort of like grew up liking both teams. And so one time I went to Fenway Park with my aunt and uncle, and they let me wear my Yankee hat because they're Yankee fans. And I got yelled at the entire time. I had no idea that there was a rivalry. You know what I mean? It was just in the family, it was funny, but people were literally pissed at me. And after that, there was like this seething hatred that started with me for the Red Sox. And so it became this whole thing. And then right after that, right after I started hating the Red Sox, the Yankees won 4 World Series. So it just sort of like cemented it. I was like, oh, I'm a Yankee fan. And so I've just always been a Yankee fan. I've always loved New York. We used to take trips to New York all the time. I'm from Massachusetts, but I don't necessarily love Boston. And the New England Patriots are from Foxborough. They always like fly over Boston, and that's like fucking 45 minutes away. And I'm always like, no, go fly over the trees that's over by Foxborough Stadium. It's actually closer to Providence. And so, so I grew up that, and obviously I grew up like, I went to Drew Bledsoe football camp, caught a pass from Drew. I was sad when they let him go for Tom Brady, but I think that worked out all right. And then again, I just think that like, we were always fans of the team. When they started winning, it was like unbelievable. And it was one of the greatest rides in sports history that will ever be known to man, as far as like being a fan of a sports team. So it's like, so that's pretty cool. But like, I'm like not a huge basketball fan. Like my brothers love the Celtics, so I like root for them. So I hope that the Celtics win, so my brothers are happy. I could give a shit about the Bruins or hockey. Sorry if that offends people, but that's basically, I'm just a big, like, those are the two, baseball and football is what I love to watch, and those are the two teams that I grew up loving. But I mean, even when the Red Sox won, I was happy for my family.
Since Bud has already donated tons of money to the stream, he gets his question finally. He wants to know, Vinny, will Cody Rhodes finish his story on Sunday at WrestleMania?
Wait, is WrestleMania Sunday?
Yes, and Saturday.
No, they're going to keep dragging it out. They're going to keep milking you people. You're going to keep it going.
I'm all in for it. All right, Blake, when we think the Friday the 13th series, we think awesome cars in it. And we're going to go movie by movie. I'll explain why certain movies might not be in here. People in the chat, I see that we've got 20-ish on YouTube and 10-ish on X. Let us know in the chat your favorite cars from each particular movie we're going to talk about. Let's start with Friday the 13th, part 1, guys. Steve Christie and Pamela Voorhees both sporting the Jeep CJ5. Now, just by looking at these cars, Pamela has the better looking Jeep of the two. Steve Christie's barely can pull a trailer for the battery dies. But awesome vehicles. They served a purpose of making you think that, Annie gets picked up. Is it Annie? Yeah, Annie gets picked up by somebody driving a Jeep. Steve leaves in a Jeep. Could it be him that's doing the killing? And then at the end, you see Pamela ride back up in the Jeep. So what'd you guys think about these cars? Blake first.
I liked it. What about you, Van?
Loved it. Back to you, Blake.
No, I mean, the Jeep's a classic. Steve's driving a little crazy in the rain. Jeeps are easily flippable. So, probably not the best vehicle to take. Well, I say that. You reckon that's 4-wheel drive? It's got to be, right?
Both of them, absolutely.
Yeah.
So, I don't know. Maybe it's not a bad thing to have in the woods.
Yeah, apparently the Steve Christie, they talk about him dumping all that money into Crystal Lake or into the cabins, and then the cabins look like complete crap.
Yeah.
And into Alice.
Yeah, they're taking a piece of gum and putting the gutters back on. All he seems to be fixated with is getting rid of a stump. He plans to paint when it's going to rain. I mean, I don't know what kind. Maybe he was on that hash. Who knows? So here we go. Next car is Crazy Ralph's shitty bike, guys.
Yep.
Obviously, just looking at it, there's no air in those tires, but he rides it like a champ. It's easy to ride on paved roads, but when he comes out of the kitchen and he goes out of those cabins, he rides it on that dirt road like a pro. As a fat guy who had a Huffy, once we left the pavement, I left the bike and I would have to walk it because it was tough to pedal through all that stuff. So what'd you think about the bike? Let's take the conversations from here, and then we've got another channel member question. One of you.
That bike definitely sucks. That bike looks like it's not comfy.
I never noticed it had a seat until now. I just assumed that it was going right up his ass, Johnny.
That's good.
But I mean, seriously, to get on a serious note, he looks so menacing when he's
I don't
introduced
think
to
it's talked
everybody.
about enough how creepy he looks.
Yes.
Not only his dialogue, but him riding off. Like, look at that look he's giving you in that first picture,
Yeah.
and then he rides off, and he gives a stare back too as he goes down that hill. I mean, just super creepy, and that's something that's never talked about in this franchise.
I think people fixate on Friday the 13th Part 1, and they've heard the argument so much. It's a whodunit, but we're never introduced to the whodunit person. Who gives a crap? You're introduced to the mythology and the mystery around Crystal Lake. The guy, Enos, in the truck lets Annie know immediately all of the things that's happened over the years at this place. Who possibly could be doing that? To think it's somebody that's there, one of these kids or Steve Christie, I guess it could be the only one it possibly could be, but you got a guy like Ralph. I mean, it's just the haunted area of Crystal Lake that I think that's a cop out when people say it's a whodunit, but we're never introduced to the whodunit person, so it doesn't make sense. I'm a firm believer that Friday the 13th, the original, gets better year after year. Every year it gets a little bit better. And I think we've talked about this before, us three. It's slowly but surely moving up my list of top Friday the 13th movies.
Yeah, no, I definitely agree that like it's got the charm, it's got a look, it's got definitely an atmosphere. And then you are right. I mean, the film does drop hints that Steve Christie could be the killer, that Ralph could be the killer, that there could be someone else out there, and it makes you look at everybody. And then they also rely upon the fact that at the time, Betsy Palmer was very well recognized for a very specific role. And I can't remember specific what role that was, but I know it painted her as like the every woman, the sweet mom. Like, when she turned heel, you know what I mean? That was like as big as like Hogan going to NWO. That's like what Friday the 13th did. You know what I mean? For Betsy Palmer, she went from Betsy Palmer to Hollywood Palmer. At that moment, you saw the black beard just kind of settle into her face, and she started, just hitting people with steel chairs. That's just how it goes down at Crystal Lake. But no, I think there is something to it that for modern audiences, there is something to say that like they never establish her, and so it's kind of odd that she comes out of nowhere. It was definitely relying on something at the time, but that really worked for people at the time. And it's like people who watch Never Hike Alone and they never really watched the franchise before. So when Tommy shows up at the end and we do this big swinging move where the guy opens up the door, they don't know who the fuck that is. And we had to make it look like, hey, you got to think it's Jason. So if they don't know who this guy is or they don't recognize him, that at least still works because you're building anticipation. But, they do in the movie lay hints that maybe the person is lurking around the camp. It could be one of the campers. It could be Steve Christie. So, I think that like you're right. You got to give the film a little bit more credit.
All right. Another membership chat. It has to do with Crazy Ralph.
Do you think Ralph ever rode his bike naked? And if he did his tallywhacker ever get caught in the chain?
So good question, Vinny. What do you think? Tallywhacker in the chain or no?
Actually, I didn't hear it. I didn't see it. For some reason.
Hold on. We'll play it again.
Do you think Ralph ever rode his bike naked? And if he did his tallywhacker ever get caught in the chain?
It is a good question.
That's a great question. You're laughing. This guy pays $2.99 a month to be a part of our channel. You're laughing at him, Vinny.
I'm trying to think. I think one part is I definitely know he's been on that bike naked. Ralph gets lit. Like, Ralph's a heavy drinker. That dude gets lit, and he's probably done some shit. And he's old in this movie. I wonder what he was up to when he's young. Getting the wanker, maybe that's why he's so crazy.
I mean, at one point,
that might be the origin story.
At one point, you hear something like a spoke in the wheel, but you don't see the spoke. So,
like that. Or do you think if that did happen to Ralph, that it would be kind of like, that meme where it's like,
I'm doomed.
I'm doomed. You're all doomed. And he puts the stick in his own tire, but that was just his dick.
My dick is doomed.
Right over the handlebars for Ralph.
All right, moving on to Friday the 13th, part 2. Jeff and Sandra roll up in probably, my opinion, the best truck in the franchise, the 1977 Chevy K10 Cheyenne. It's an amazing truck, plenty of room in the bed because they take 14 of those potential camp counselors out to drink after it's all said and done. Awesome truck. I would want that truck. Blake, like Blake said, hey, a-hole, that's my truck. Great vehicle, boys.
I agree. And I think, Ronnie, you and I being from the South, we have to say this truck is our favorite. I mean, just to fit the stereotype. But yeah, it is an awesome truck. And I don't know about best. Well, I'm trying to think later on in the later movies, do we see another truck? Do we see another truck, guys?
We see the blue truck from Friday the 13th, part 5 and 6.
That's right. Pam's truck. Yep. That one is going to be tough. That one, I think, yeah, when we get to that one, I think that's going to be my favorite.
Spoiler alert, it might not be on there. So I added this other picture, guys. So, of course, Jeff and Sandra, they meet their fate in a iconic death of the spear that Ted had earlier in the movie, right through them while they're in mid-coitus.
Yeah,
so,
she got stabbed twice.
Yeah, the question I have for you two, you cinema experts, and Vinny being a director now in canon with the Friday the 13th films, was he so good that she wasn't able to say, stop, there's somebody in the room?
Yeah, she's like mid-orgasm here. And then when she saw Jason and actually kick something else that she kind of liked, I think she was like, "Oh,"
mm-hmm.
And then
he's next.
Yeah, she's like, "I like something about bags," and then she saw the spear, and before she could say anything, it was a DP situation.
Good Lord, Vinny, you did get some good, Blake.
He's filthy.
Good Lord,
he's filthy.
I apologize, people. We thought we were doing a professional interview, which takes us to this right here, Blake. We have another channel member question. Let me I always like to see Vinny's reaction here. So when it comes to Friday the 13th part 2, this is a good one. Let me find it. Like I said, I'm tough at navigating right through here. So there's a scene in particular, Vinny, where the sheriff, we talked about it during our bathrooms episode. I'm sure you watched, Vinny, where we talk about Jason's bathroom in his shack and how that sheriff's deputy may be the only person in the series to chase Jason. So this particular question comes from our youngest channel member, and he wanted to ask Vinny specifically about that toilet.
Hey Danny, huge fan of your movies. I just want to know in Friday the 13th part 2, when they find a shack, did he take craps in that toilet?
So, okay, hold on. I think he called you Danny. Hold on a second.
Hey Danny, huge fan of your movies. I just want to know in Friday the 13th part 2, when they find a shack, did he take craps in that toilet?
Take craps in that toilet, Danny?
Yeah, he did.
All
He
right.
stuffed him down there with his boot.
I don't know. Okay, one more follow-up question from this same young channel member.
Also, I need to know, how many times do you wipe before you're finished?
There you go. Great question. How many times do you wipe before you're finished?
I recognize that kid.
It just depends on what I'm eating. Let me think.
Just an average go time, number 2.
It's like a 2.3. Most usually 2, I can get it all. And then sometimes you just need a little bit of a cleanup.
Explain what you mean by that. Screw this PowerPoint. You need a little bit of a cleanup after you wipe, or that?
Well, I'm just saying, sometimes you just gotta go. You just gotta double check.
Yeah.
You don't want to make any mistakes. It's a mistake you just don't want to make. It's measured.
Look,
wipe twice.
Great grandma taught me this. You wipe until the toilet paper's red, and then that's how you know you're clean.
Yep. Yeah, pretty much.
All right, here we go, boys. Back onto it. Jeff and Sandra moving on in part 2. Jenny Field, the person that every fanboy loves. She's pretending to be a blonde. She's a ginger. She's got a great car. She's able to hit the gas and blow that black smoke right into Paul's face. She uses her child psychology on Jason. She's in a bikini next to the lifeguard tower telling nasty jokes. She's everybody's favorite. Blake, what did you think of her car?
I think it sucked. And I didn't like the prank she pulled on Paul either. Paul was trying to fix her car, and then she makes it out like it was all done on purpose, just to blow shit in his face. I don't like it. And I don't think I like her anymore.
Well, look, I'm going to tell you, doing research for this movie, and Vinny, I'm sorry for interrupting, but doing research for this stream with the wonderful Vincent DiSanti, I watched the bar scene again. And when she's going through, he could be a frightened retard. And they just say, hey, Jenny, you're drunk. And then she sits there like really mad. And I was sitting here thinking, why are you so mad? They're just telling you you're ridiculous for believing this. I mean, you've got no proof that any of this exists. And typical woman behavior, you're getting mad. They should have left her there, Blake. Go ahead, Vinny.
Well, her car definitely sucks. It doesn't start. She can't get out of there. And then when she tries to hide in it, it doesn't even have a proper roof to stop her from getting stabbed. It's like the worst horror. Like, this is like the quintessential shittiest horror movie car to ever exist, I think. Maybe that's where it's the best. It's the best at being the shittiest because it literally it offers nothing. It offers nothing.
Well,
go ahead. The only thing it did do was it managed to somehow hide her silhouette, even though she was above the car and she was definitely clearly in Jason's sight. That somehow she was able to blend into the car. So maybe it has some type of magical like cloak power, like Harry Potter. But that is definitely one of the things I always thought was funny about that movie. It's like you definitely saw her.
Yeah, I would argue that the next vehicle in the Friday the 13th franchise is the worst. Mark Jarvis's wheelchair. Here's the deal.
Wait a minute. This guy's last name is Jarvis?
I wanted to talk about that. How lazy are they? Is he related to the Jarvis family?
Well, I think that's a question for Vinny.
Vinny, go.
He would have to be a cousin. Because that family would not be like, how could you like? It's only been they can't be related to them because it's only a few days later that Jason runs into the Jarvises and they're having a good old time before Jarvis comes around. Like, if the brother died or somebody in their family died, they'd all be in mourning and they wouldn't be
would they know it yet is the thing. I think it's a situation where the writers sat down and said, hey, we're going to call this guy Tommy Jarvis because they didn't know there was a Mark Jarvis in part 2.
Oh, they literally didn't know there was a Mark Jarvis in part 2. Like that's 1,000% that they didn't do any research. There must be just like a list of names that you picked out of a hat back in the 80s. You were like, well, we just need a last name. Oh, we'll use this Jarvis name again. And they use it probably in 50. There's probably so many Jarvises in 80s movies. Probably is there. But I'm going to say that this is actually one of the best vehicles.
I'm with you.
If you compared it to Ginny's thing, do you think Ginny's car could survive going down the stairs the way his wheelchair did? Because that thing stayed upright. It kept him up. I've always been impressed by the way that balance ratio on that wheelchair has always been. It's like one of the most
that's exactly the point I was fixing to make, Ronnie. I mean, you can argue what you want, but the stability of that chair staying up, going down those steps, I don't think it's worst.
No, you're probably right. And the bit was I was going to have the video clip of him going down the stairs, and I forgot to do it. But you just got to figure he had his weight out in front. That's why he didn't fall back. So we've got more channel member questions as it relates to Mark. So here we go. This guy, Tim, has been a member for over 8 months. So, I mean, he submitted quite a few questions. So here we go, guys. Let me know if you can hear it or not, Ben.
In Friday the 13th, part 2, do you think Mark's tallywhacker worked?
Great question. He's going to say yes. Blake, what do you think?
I think it works.
Yeah, he acted like it did. I mean, you think you would have to, like Randy Santel, professional eater on YouTube. We had him on the audio podcast, Vinny. And Randy lived with his parents till he's like 34 years old. And one night he was telling us he was out with friends, and one girl in particular got very fresh with him and holding hands, little smooches here and there. And as they went to leave, Randy was a gentleman and said, you might want to just go with your friends because I live at home. And she got in the car and left. So there you go. Randy
Glad you
Santel.
brought that up.
Santel, friend of the show. Hope he's doing well out there.
Wow.
Next movie, we're heading into Friday the 13th, part 3, guys. We got Chris Higgins' 1981 Dodge Ram. We know it's got the extra gas tank. We know it can house hippies, Shelly, a guy that's standing on his hands, a pregnant woman. It's a great vehicle. Jason actually dives out of the way because Chris is one of the smart final girls that was going to roll right over his A at the end of the movie. And too bad Ali and the rest of the Brotherhood got the gas out of there, so it came to a complete stop on the bad bridge. Blake?
I'm a big fan of the van, and I'm going to rhyme every time.
Poet didn't know it.
Right. Ronnie, we call them Fantastics, devil worshiping vans. I'm a big fan of this one. For a long time, part 3 was my favorite Friday the 13th. I just had some cool scenes, switching to the reserve tank to start the van up, Jason using his mask to bust the driver's side window. Do vans make the most appearances in this franchise, Ronnie, other than any other vehicle?
I think it would be vans and Jeeps, right? Let's do the list real quick. Part 3 has a van. Part 4 does not have a van. Part 5
does.
Part 5 has a van. Part 6, does it have an RV?
It's got an RV, but I don't think you call that a van.
Part 7 does have a van because Theo from the Huxtables is having sweet love with his girl out there. Part 8 has no vehicles. Part 9, I don't think has a van. The Jason versus Freddy movie has a van.
Jason versus Freddy has a van because he slides out.
There you go.
Like a wet turd.
Is there a van in space?
Yes, it's a space van.
The Grendel. I was going to ask if the Grendel counted.
Hey.
You know it is. Mark's wheelchair made
We'll
it, Vinny.
Next on the list, we have my man Ali and his 1971 custom chopper. Now, we never actually see him get to ride it, but it's a pretty awesome bike. Vinny, are you a motorcycle guy?
I am. I do ride a little bit. I have my motorcycle license. My family rides. My mom's actually a big motorcycle. That's how I got into dirt bikes and stuff like that as a kid. She actually rode a bunch. My brother was a big motocross guy, not actually in the thing, but he did a ton of that stuff. We all ride. That's Blake, a nice bike too.
It is a really nice bike. Blake, are you a motorcycle guy?
I want it to be, but when you're overweight, you can't pull off the motorcycle look. So
yeah, that's true. I had a dirt bike.
I got a van.
I had a dirt bike in junior high, and you always look like when you're overweight like me. I weigh 387 pounds.
Not true.
When you're overweight like me and you try to get on a motorcycle, you look like those two fat twins.
The McGuire twins.
Yeah, the Guinness Book of World Record. So it really doesn't work out. I mean, you're driving down the road. I remember I was so happy when I got a dirt bike for a Christmas present. I was going down the road, and we're in a rural area here, and all of a sudden I hear a couple of old women go, "Hey, it's the McGuire twins." And I turned around and I came back home and parked it. So, it's
this scene. I don't really have a thought on the motorcycle.
Have you ever seen Pet Sematary 2?
Yeah.
The part where he's got the dirt bike and the scarf.
Mm-hmm.
That's what you should have done when they said
I should have scarfed myself.
No, you should have scarfed them. It should have been oh yeah.
Hey,
I don't have an
twins on one bike.
Ronnie, I don't have an opinion on this motorcycle because I don't get to see it in use. But this still you posted does remind me that there's another bug in this movie. There's another Volkswagen, Rick's car. So now we're at 2 Jeeps, 2 Volkswagens, and 2 vans.
Yeah, I didn't put Rick's Volkswagen 1 because it's
a poor car.
And 2 because I tried to avoid the same cars like with the vans, but I never knew that 2 dynamite guys like yourself would want to start counting the same vehicles throughout the franchise. So, I mean, next time we got to get
2.0 with a tally.
We got to get Vinny's phone number, and we'll text him all the time. We'll have a little group chat, and we'll decide on the next one what's going on. So that's Ali. He gets his hand cut off. Really top-notch guy.
Speaking of top-notch guys,
let me remove this for a second because I'm trying to keep it, in flow. When it comes to Friday the 13th Part 3, we have another channel member question. Let me find it. It has to do with Abel, who is the weird guy that they put out laying on the road that Chris would have run over and committed murder early on in the movie. And it also brings up a topic me and Blake talked about last week. They kill off Crazy Ralph. A few days later, we got Abel in the woods. Not even a few days, like one day later, we got Abel in the woods. So there are multiple hermit crazies roaming the Crystal Lake woods. I mean, there you go. Anyway, let's get to this question because this guy paid $5 per question.
In Friday the 13th, Part 3, do you think Jason ever molested Abel like he did Chris?
Great question.
Other way around.
Abel molested Jason. There were more parts of the body. Here you go.
More, and I explored every single one of them.
All right, let's move on to okay, look. And you guys can jump on me right now. I skipped Friday the 13th, Part 4. And I'm sorry for doing that. You had the Jarvis vehicle. Look, guys, I'm going to tell you this right now. Let's pull the curtain back. I don't care about the people in the chat. I'm just talking to you two guys. Here's what happened. I found a website, and you guys may know about it. The Internet Movie Car Database exists. And I was able to pull up all of the cars. The stream a week ago, I had to rewatch the movies. Here, I was able just to bring up all the cars. It was amazing. And the only car I really wanted to talk about in Part 4 would be the station wagon type thing that the teenagers or the early 20-years or whatever they're supposed to be are riding in. But I mean, there was also an ambulance that sort of looked like the Ghostbusters mobile. I don't know if it was or not. If anybody in the chat knows, let us know. But really what I want to talk about from Part 4, guys, is this. Rob, brother of Sandra, who couldn't let Jeff know that somebody was in the room, is out in Crystal Lake hunting Jason. How'd he get out there? Because he doesn't have a car. The Jarvises had to drive him around. Did he walk there? Or is his car parked somewhere else? Blake, help me out. Benny, help me out.
What was the question?
Where's Rob's car?
He ain't got one, brother.
All right, Benny, help me.
I think he took a bus. He came in the same way Annie came in. Like he came into town and then worked his way from there.
Okay.
Because back then people actually used to ride the bus.
So we're moving into Part 5, guys. We got Billy here, who's the orderly. I want Lana to go, nothing on her. 1968 Dodge Charger. 100% chance of flurries, guys. What do you think about this car? What do you think about this guy? Looks like the Micro Machines guy. Great death. Great character.
Great mustache.
Long line of perverted male orderlies throughout the movie. Male medical workers, I guess I should say. Let's talk about it, Blake.
I mean, I love this character. You know that. Anytime someone is a open, dope-headed pervert like Vinny next to me, I'm a big fan.
I mean, you put a mic in front of me, and it's just bound to go.
Yeah.
I love Billy. In fact, Never Hike Alone, the Axel and Never Hike Alone, his name is Axel Macaulay. Billy's name is Billy Macaulay. The idea is that Axel from Part 4 knocked up Billy's sister, and the medic in Never Hike Alone is his nephew.
I love it.
This kid. That's how much I love this character.
Guys, I forgot another question that was asked about Friday the 13th Part 4 in particular. I have ruined the stream by getting it. Yeah, okay. It's talking about Tommy Jarvis in particular.
Now, Friday the 13th, the final chapter. What was harder for Jason to bend? Rob's rifle barrel or Tommy's tallywhacker after watching those two teens from his window?
Blake? Vinny? Popped him.
Got to go with the tallywhacker, Ronnie.
Harder than Chinese arithmetic?
That was probably harder than the rifle. So, yeah. But if anybody could bend it, it's Jason Voorhees. Or Dan Snyder.
Oh, man, you beat me to it. Nice.
Moving on. Here we go. Victor, my favorite guy, Suicide from Return of the Living Dead. Victor,
and Price is Right.
And Price is Right. And Reggie the Reckless jumped on the Ford 545 tractor that played a big role in this movie. One, Victor's driving it around at the very beginning when we're introduced to all the morons at the facility. And at the end, Reggie the Reckless proves he's not worthless as he takes it to Jason, Roy, on this tractor and almost runs completely over him. He puts Roy down. So great vehicle in this movie. Really wish I had one. And I bet you guys didn't think the tractor was going to end up in the part 5.
I wish Roy used the tractor. Like, that would have been such a great kill if he just like smashed someone with like the shovel or whatever the scoop is. Just like they're sitting there and just like, that'd be great. I think that would have been fun. But it is an awesome vehicle.
What do you think, Blake?
I didn't expect it to make the list. I forgot that a tractor was in that movie. So I'm very proud of you for including that.
Well, look,
I love how you got the model number and everything. I know you cheated and went to IMDb cars or whatever you said.
Yeah.
But I love the Ford F45 tractor you got there.
All right. Moving on. We're into Friday the 13th, part 6, guys. And Vinny, I know, let me bring us back. Vinny always gets nervous when I bring us back. We have a lot of people that support this channel, and they all had questions for you. And I know some of them it's been heavy on the tallywhacker talk, but it's not all fun and games. All right. Nick Push has a question for you about cars. Nick Push's Hard channel. You went on Nick Push's channel, Vinny. How awkward was it when it was just you and him talking? Okay, hold on. More awkward conversation. You and Nick Push, or you and Darren?
I don't know. I don't think I have awkward conversations with anyone. I can talk to just about anybody.
It was Darren. We know. All right. So here's Nick Push's question. He's actually got a 2-parter, but I'm going to do it one at a time because that's how we call that a tease in the business.
Thank you.
Hey, gentlemen. Blake, Ronnie, Vince.
First off, guys, I hate to interrupt his question, but can we focus our attention? 1, hair, amazing. 2, sunglasses, great. 3, what's the deal with his interior right above his head? It looks like he's folding down.
Hey, gentlemen. Blake, Ronnie, Vince, Nick Push here. Since you guys are talking about cars in the Friday the 13th franchise, I figured the best time to ask this question would be while I'm driving in my car on my commute to work this morning. So Vince, good to see you again, man. I got 2 questions for you. Number 1, have you ever had sex in a car? Don't lie, man. You've lived on both coasts, West Coast, East Coast. There's no way
Rick.
you haven't stopped at some truck stop and, you know.
Well, here, guys, first off, Vinny, I don't want to steal your thunder, but what disturbed me the most about this question, filthy, by the way, and I apologize for Nick Push, is he asked you about your personal sexual history. We don't condone that on All the Good Names Are Taken, but he equated it to the only place you can have coitus in a car is at a truck stop.
I did notice that. I did notice the truck, like that of all the places it would be a truck stop, which is, I think that's the one place I have it in my car. Truck stop, no. But yeah, I think everyone's had that experience.
I guess he thinks you're some kind of lot lizard out there roaming the parking lot of the truck stop, climbing up in these rigs.
Larry's Lounge Lizards or whatever that game was. Remember that?
Hey, big boy, you're about to get executive producer perk for free. Get me 5 miles down the road. All right, hold on. Go ahead. I'm sorry, I'm interrupting.
Oh, I thought he had 2, right?
Yeah, here comes the other question.
Question number 2.
That right over his shoulder, guys. It looks like something wrapped around. Look, what is that black thing wrapped around there? Help me out.
Question number 2. Did you ever consider trying to get Megan from Jason Lives in your Never Hike Alone series, and what happened with that? Thanks for allowing me to put in this question, guys. Have a good show. I'll talk to you guys later.
He don't have his seatbelt on, Ronnie.
Well, he also didn't show us his DUI thing he's got to blow into either. He made sure he left that thing out. Hold on a second, guys. I got to deal with this DUI shit.
Start the car real quick.
Okay, so did you ever consider putting Megan in this movie?
Yeah, 1,000%. She was in the first draft of the idea. And when I talked to Tom about it, he was like, "You're never going to get Jennifer Cook out of retirement. She married into some good money. She didn't really need to act. She found Jesus, and she's not really proud of what she did for Friday the 13th. I don't know. I know she did some interviews and she was okay with it eventually, but she just doesn't really want anything to do with the series. And we had to go another direction. So that's how we came up with the whole Mark Hill storyline.
Yeah, what's not to be proud of from her role in Jason Lives? I thought she was like a wholesome
Harry Turn.
Yeah, female character in that movie. Other than the Harry Turn, it really wasn't her doing any innuendo. It was just her saying the wrong thing with his head location. I mean,
honestly, I think that there's probably a part of the community, and I think of the franchise. The franchise as a whole can have a stigma to it, being associated with it. I think, and imagine being now uber rich, and you go into you have to go to uber rich parties where you have to, mingle with people who have way too much money in their life, and you're like, "What do you do?" And you're like, "Oh, I acted in a Friday the 13th movie." They're all going to look at you like you're nothing.
I was in H2O. Jamie Lee Curtis joke.
Oh, what is that? You're into water? We're at Nestle. We're trying to buy water. How did you get it? I mean, that's like the type of conversation that they would have. They probably don't look down on it, so she's probably ashamed. Hopefully, deep down, she is proud of what she did, because she's one of the best characters in the entire franchise. That's the hands down. I mean, it would be
absolutely
nice to back. But I can also see it from the standpoint of some of the stories I heard from Deb Voorhees about being a woman in that kind of environment and the type of attention and the attention that you don't want. And so maybe she just doesn't want to be in it because she got a lot of it. I mean, think about how popular she was. We know how creepy we can be.
Yeah.
So maybe she's just like, you know what? I think it went too far somewhere, and maybe that happened for her. And I hope that's not the case. But yeah, I think if anything, we just miss you, Jennifer Cook, and we wish we could have included you in Never Hike Alone. Ultimately I wanted, with the Jennifer Cook story, what I wanted was Megan left Tommy because he wouldn't leave Crystal Lake. He felt like it was his duty to protect the town. And she's like, "It's not your fucking duty. You did your duty. Go, come with me, be with your family." And he couldn't let it go. And he was stubborn, and he stayed. And they had a kid too. So there was sort of like a bit between with that. And the kid was the one who came to Camp Crystal, who came to visit him that weekend and got caught up in the whole mix of it all. But long story short, the whole thing with at the end of Never Hike Alone 2 was that he was going to be able to live and leave Crystal Lake for the first time in his life and go be with Megan and actually let it go. That's where I wanted it to go. I just, without her there, I didn't want to weekly do it with a picture or a bad, you know what I mean? We wanted the actual thing.
Yeah, that was going to be my question to you. Would they still been married, or would they have been split up?
They would have been separated. It would have been separated.
But to see those two characters come back together at the end of the movie would have added a whole lot more to the story than what was already there. That would have been awesome. That would have been awesome. Yeah. I'll give it to you.
Yeah. The other thing I wanted to do that I couldn't do was that whole interior scene where you watch Tommy wake up in his house and leave the house. There was originally supposed to be a little bit more to that, because early on, before COVID, we had the actual Jarvis house locked up. We were ready to shoot there. We were going to do all scenes there. At one point, I wanted to write a scene where Rick came looking for Tommy at the house. And that's when he got the call that he was at the hospital. But during COVID, they let somebody film at the house and they broke things and left it a mess. And the lady was like, I don't do filming anymore. If you want to come shoot the outside of the house, that's okay. And it's going to cost like $4,000. And I was like, oh, I want to, but
Screw you, lady.
Screw you. No, she's super sweet. She's super sweet. And I understand where she's coming from. She just wants to live in her house. But it was a sad moment, but I have been there multiple times. It's a really nice place. The property is crazy.
Here we go. While we're still on, let's get into part 6 on the actual the PowerPoint, because Vinny sent me a very heated email that said if I didn't get him out of here by a particular time, that he would attempt to whoop my ass. And I was like, you know what, big boy, drive on down here and we'll go 5 or 6 rounds. I can only make it
3 days.
I'll see you in 3 days. Gives me 3 days to go buy some bullets.
There's a lot of truck stops between here and Mississippi. It's going to take me some time.
He's going to lose his fluids. All right, so we have Megan right here driving her 1975 Chevy Camaro, a great car, an even better character, the perfect right-hand woman, if you will, to Tommy in this movie. A very likable girl, female character with nothing, absolutely nothing wrong with her. You grow more fond to her as the movie goes on. She even attempts to give up her life to try to save Tommy. And in the meantime, that leads her to put the boat motor on the boat propeller on Jason's head. So she's brave. She's funny. She's adventurous. She's got the car. Awesome chase scene in this movie. How do you want us to proceed? With care, asshole. So tell me what you think, Vinny. Talk to me about this car.
This was one of the cool, it's one of the coolest scenes in, Friday the 13th, the car chase, them driving around, that shifter that goes like that U shifter. I'd never seen that before. When I first saw this movie, I was like, that's the coolest fucking thing I've ever seen. I've always wanted a car with one of those types of shifters. She drives it like a badass. It's definitely one of the best cars in the entire franchise.
Blake,
I agree.
Moving on.
What if Jason found God?
I don't explain that.
Well, he said that Jennifer Cook or whoever, Jennifer Tilly did. What if Jason did?
I don't know.
Moving on.
I guess he wouldn't kill anybody anymore. I don't know how that works.
No, if he was God, he would kill everybody.
Oh.
Think about it.
So we have more questions when it concerns Friday the 13th, part 6. A couple of channel members. Hold on. Let me find him. Jordan Moran.
Oh, Bud throwing. You see what Bud said?
No, I don't pay attention.
Yo, that's a blasphemy.
Let's see. Ronnie, Blake, Vinny. Hold on. That's not Bud. Here we go.
But hey, you say how did you show up?
I'll go back to that one. Megan is the most overrated final girl in horror history.
Wow, shots fired.
I don't know if it's shots fired or if it's hey, look at me. Here we go. 1996. We looked at you, Bud. But everything is subjective when it comes to horror.
That's true.
Somebody that I may think is the best. I love Poppin' Vinny. He goes side to side. You really made him laugh. Girls that I think are great in the franchise, other people may think are terrible and do stupid things. That's the great thing about horror movies is what Blake likes, I might not like, and who Blake likes, I might like. So, and I'm sure Vinny's the same way. Now, I'm sure everybody didn't like Never Hike Alone 2. I loved it. Maybe some people wanted to see Tommy Jarvis meet his demise or Screw. But and we all have different opinions, and I can see where Megan. Well, I can't.
No, it doesn't. It doesn't make sense because she can't be the most overrated in horror history because she's not even rated that high. Like to me, the most overrated would be Laurie Strode.
Oh, see, now that's a hot take.
JoJo 1996. And I should have been going through this chat the whole time. Apparently, there's a lot of stuff going on. Ronnie, Blake, Vinny, what's good? All right, guys, what's good with you? What's up, homies?
Nothing.
It's Friday.
What's good, y'all? Hopefully Y'all, hopefully your night's going good. It is going good, JoJo. Thanks for asking. First time ever seeing y'all live. Well, hopefully you hit that subscribe button and you become a $15 member to our channel. Wait a minute. Only Darren and Frank do that. Just hit the like button and come on back anytime you want. We love this. We love people interacting. Unless they're saying stuff like Bud, and Bud's probably going to want his $1.99 back because I said, I like Megan. Megan's one of my, look, part 6 is my movie. Part 6 is my movie. And I'm not going to apologize for it. I'm not. It's a great movie. Okay. All right. Let's move on, boys. Next, Admiral Robertson. I know, gosh, guys, y'all are letting me get all over the place. I've got more channel memberships to get to. Jordan Moran, who I was talking about earlier, he's been a channel member for close to 6 months, and I need you guys to help me with this accent. He actually had, Vinny's already laughing. He actually has 3, let me get this off real quick. Hold on. He actually has 3 questions for you, Vinny. So he paid for all 3 of them. So here we go.
Hey Vinny, I've got 3 questions. Question 1, if you could direct Tom Matthews in any other franchise, what would it be? Question 2, if you have Megan in the Never Hide Cologne series, would you have killed her off? And number 3, who do you think is the more gentle lover? Jason, Blake, or Ronnie? Cheers.
No, like this really freaked me out because Jordan Moran has something as his, like, what do they call them, like avatars or whatever the thing is right there on YouTube. He's got a guy that looks a certain way, and I just assumed that's what he's going to look like. And then this guy pops up sending this stuff to me today, and I was like, look at this guy.
Good-looking guy. That hair is beautiful.
That hair is fantastic. It's probably a $6,000 figure. Is right. All those DVDs in the background.
Hey, Vinny, I've got
yeah, it's great. What is that accent, Blake? Is that Kentucky?
I think that's Kentucky Fried. I thought it was Keanu Reeves from Point Break talking to us at first.
Oh, con Dios, bro.
You know I can't handle a cage, man.
You got to go down.
Is he the best looking guy, channel member that we have, Ronnie?
Oh, no. The best looking channel member?
Don't go back to that guy in the car.
Hold on a second. The best looking channel member to me.
Also, I need to know how many times do you wipe before you're finished?
Boom. There you go.
That is a good kid.
All right. So the first question was, what was his
Dan said?
Hold on. I forgot his damn question. Did anybody remember his question?
Was I going to murder Megan? Which is no, she would have been, she kind of would, I didn't think she was going to do much, so I was going to have her sort of like as a voiceover and maybe in her own town. She never really gets into danger. What was the other question?
Hold on. We got the power of
better.
Hey, Vinny, I've got 3 questions. Question 1, if you could direct Tom Matthews in any other franchise, what would it be?
I would want to do another Return of the Living Dead.
Boom! I knew he was going to say that whenever I was editing that clip today. How would it be? What would your whole setup for Return of the Living Dead be? Would you try to do like your own interpretation of what that movie was, or what?
I don't know. I just think like I would take the theme of like what happened with, I don't know. It's tough. I think it would be tough for Tom to do the film without his partner, who passed away a few years ago. They were good friends all the way through and through. Him and James.
James Karen.
Yeah, James Karen. I was trying to remember his last name. Him and James Karen. I think without him and James Karen, I wonder if that just wouldn't work. But I think to carry it on, I just think that he would. And who was the other guy?
Clue Gallagher.
Clue. Yeah, I was like Clue. I think he would be like the Clue of the movie. You know what I mean? Like if we were going to remake it, he would be sort of Clue's role to be that sort of thing, and have a couple of new people that are getting mixed up with the trioxin and then trying to deal with it. I think what makes Return of the Living Dead work so well is the setup of them trying to deal with it on their own, which is so funny. But there's actually a movie that I want to make with Tom that we've talked about a couple of times that's sort of based on Return of the Living Dead. It's actually called Night of the Living. No, actually, Night of the Living Sex Dolls. based on a book.
Is that
It's
real?
It's real. And it's hilarious. Basically, something like trioxin gets mixed in with a bunch of sex toys and brings them to life, and then they go around murdering people. And Tom would play the sheriff and try to keep the whole town there. And what I love about the film is that there's a running gag where they keep wanting to call the number on the barrel, and he keeps going, "No, don't call the number on the barrel." Because he knows.
All I can picture is the dildos and Tommy blasting.
Well, no, it's like
trying to get them.
That's what they would do. They would
spit on you. All right.
I mean, it like Jason goes to hell type thing. You know what I mean? Like it's going inside people, and then it's like it would be the funniest comedy of all time, comedy horror of all time, and it would be super brutal too.
Okay, I'm looking to see. We only have 2 member questions left, Blake. So we're going to go to channel member Sleazy, who has been a channel member for over 13 months. He sent one in from his car. So here we go.
God. I mean, really? Jabroni? Quit taking credit for Jason. One question for you. What about that piss?
What about that what?
God. I mean, really? Jabroni? Quit taking credit for Jason. One question for you. What about that piss?
I think he said, "What about that piss?"
Yeah, what piss?
What's he talking about, Ronnie?
I don't even know.
I don't know. He seemed to be mad that you were taking credit for Jason. Maybe he's talking about the scene in Friday the 13th Part 2 when Jenny pees under the bed and it comes rolling out. Maybe that's what he meant by "what about that piss?"
I definitely tried not to take any credit for Jason. I just like.
Well, look, he's totally out of line. I'm going to apologize for him. And since we're here, all right, we're going to do the last one. It has nothing to do with Friday the 13th Part 6.
Good.
It's from a friend of the show. He's not a channel member. I told him he could actually get a question in. He's supposed to have been on the show like weeks ago. And we keep putting him off. Shane Emerson. Here he is.
What's going on, Vinny? Big fan. Question. If you could take Jason to one new place in the franchise he has not been, where would it be?
Now, I don't know what's going on here, Vinny, because apparently he's trying to do the Micro Machine gimmick where he just talks really fast. So let's try it again.
What's going on, Vinny? Big fan. Question. If you could take Jason to one new place in the franchise he has not been, where would it be?
Oh,
Heaven.
it would spoil. It would sort of spoil something.
Okay, well, don't spoil it.
I don't know. It would. I mean, it's not like they're giving me Friday the 13th in a way. Okay. Okay, I'll reveal it. I don't give a shit. If it comes up in later years, I'll be like, well, just get ready for it.
Hold on, Blake. Is this an exclusive, Blake?
This is kind of big. So I have.
Hold on. If this is going to be an exclusive, let's play the clip for we always play for exclusives.
Just lean forward. Don't lean back. Lean forward. Ready? Ready? Push. Push. Ready? Oh, you got that big
Oh, shit! Oh, shit! Oh,
All right. ATG&AT exclusive.
So I wrote this sort of outline, this big outline for Friday the 13th trilogy that if you ever brought it back to the theaters, what you would do with it if you were making it a human style Jason, that the place that you would take Jason after the first 2 movies is you would take him to prison.
Ooh, I like
Put
it. Like
Jason in prison. And then they try to electrocute him and put him on the electric chair, and it goes horribly wrong. All the power goes out in the prison, and it's a jailbreak. It's like a big prison riot with Jason in it. And that's the movie.
What's cool about that, Ronnie, is you're forced to root for a good guy who in reality is a bad guy in jail, unless we're focused on a security guard. But I got a feeling, Vinny, as creative as you are, we will be rooting for a guy who's already in prison.
For rape.
The families from the first 2 movies of all the victims have shown up to watch him die. And they're in the jail, stuck there too. So now they're in the jail with the prisoners. And yeah, there's probably like what was Nicolas Cage and Con Air? You know what I mean? There's probably like a prisoner in there who's kind of like
I'm going to show you God does exist.
Yeah, there's probably somebody there. But I think the mystique of like him in that setting, him getting led around the prison, that type of shit, like they kind of touched on it in Halloween, in the new Halloween series. But this idea predates that. I'm talking, he's not in some like comfy, like I'm chained out to like this big chessboard out in the middle of nowhere. Like he's in like a fucking like Green Mile like prison.
Yeah.
And he's going to get they're going to be run so much electricity through him that like he's going to blow up, but it just pisses him off. And he just fucking gets out and starts murdering everybody. And I think that would be
he's
awesome.
Surrounded by like worst of the worst, like Jared from Subway's there.
Yes.
Dan Snyder's there.
Yeah.
All right.
I love it.
I love that. You know, it would be a good movie. I remember the first time I saw it when it was called Maniac Cop 2 or either Shocker. But
no, yeah, Shocker. No, I mean, yeah, Shocker had that, but his whole thing was that he got sucked out of his body and then put into electricity. Like that it continues from that moment, and then the whole thing takes place within the prison.
Would you break the budget? Would you, if you made that movie, would you go all out to have Thin Lizzy's jailbreak when all that's happening? Tonight there's going to be a jailbreak. And then he's coming out of there somewhere in this town. He's like chopping them. And, you know, I don't know the rest.
What I'm going to do is I'm going to slow down the music. I'm going to have it remixed, and I'm going to have somebody just talk the lyrics tonight. And then I'm going to do like a modern trailer. We'll do it that way.
I did in Scream with Don't Fear the Reaper. I like it. Oh, no, look, that's why you're the best in the business, and I will defend you until
I love that idea.
The very end. It's a great idea.
I might use some of that for Harry and the Hendersons too.
All right. Harry goes in jail.
I thought it was Harry Gets Scary, Blake.
Well, now Harry goes to prison.
We're gonna execute this Sam Squanch. Here we go. Okay, Blake, moving on to Friday the 13th, Part 8, because I didn't use any of the vehicles from Part 7, guys. There's nothing there. Nick's Jeep, the lady from the LPGA that's Tina's mom, her car was not good. Bernie didn't have a good car. There was a van, but who cares? We're moving on to the SS Lazarus, which is the best vehicle in Friday the 13th, Part 8. It's owned or ran by Admiral Robertson, who just wants his son to do what, Blake?
Toot the effing horn.
That's all he wants.
Aren't you forgetting something? Ronnie, I just remembered, is because you mentioned a Jeep in Part 7, so that brings the total up to 3. But there's also another Volkswagen in Part 6, right? The girl with the credit cards?
Yes, you're right. At the very beginning, her and Tony Goldwyn. That's right. So now we're up to 3 punch bugs, 3 Jeeps,
3 vans.
Well, is it 3 or 4 vans? Well, how did I? First off, guys, you don't know how shitty this list is I've made and how rushed I was. How did I not do the RV with maybe one of the best scenes in the franchise? Yeah. I need 10 more minutes with Animal playing. Come on, I suck. Y'all
Vinny texted me and said, "Where's the RV?"
I knew he did. I'm sorry, guys. In the chat, I'm sorry, Blake. We're rolling at 37 between X and YouTube. But hit the like button, guys. There we go. Those are rookie numbers. All right. SS Lazarus, guys, what do you got to say about this cruise ship? First off, it looks like crap. If I'm going on my senior trip and we're getting on this thing right here, I don't even know what to think about it. But it looks cool on the inside. It's like the TARDIS from Doctor Who.
I don't know if I'm going on vacation or if I'm starting a scallop trip. Like, am I just going to be like, am I going on to fucking Alaskan crab wars? Like, what is going on with this ship? This doesn't look like any cruise liner I've ever seen in my entire life. And I always thought it was like some type of tugboat that they like shot the outside of it. And the inside is all just a bunch of sets that would never fit on this boat. It never made any sense to me.
Never noticed that until now. I mean, inside, I'm supposed to believe there's a dance studio in this, a cafeteria, a boxing area, a sauna, a place to do coke. I'm not buying it.
Whoa. Hey.
Hey. Your
And like
biology
the
project.
suites that they were living in, like that was like, yeah, that's not what it looks like.
Why would you let a student go on a cruise if they got to do their biology project? You would say right there, hey, you didn't meet the requirements grade-wise. You can't go on this trip. I mean, nobody's checking a biology assignment on a senior cruise. That's the most unrealistic thing in the Friday 13th franchise.
No, he was just trying to actually get laid. He didn't
Yeah.
realize that she was going to bring the camera. No, he knew what he was doing. That creepy old man.
Me and Ronnie talk about it all the time. That could have went south for her in a very horrible way.
Hey.
Yeah.
Hey.
Hey.
Oh, Charles, you got to love
What are
him.
you doing?
I felt bad for this guy, Admiral Robertson. All he wants to do is put his son, who's obviously a simpleton, on the right path of steering a boat for the rest of his life. And he gets his throat slit for it, Blake. I just don't understand it. But what he ends up doing is he ends up saving everybody that gets on that life raft because he gives him that, hey, look to the stars thing that Magellan used, that they're able to use it to make it to New York City. So in a way, he's a hero. Moving on. Jason X in space, guys. We've got the Grendel. Benny wondered if the Grendel would make it. Yeah. Louis Fat Lou Goddard, whatever his damn name is. His best friends call him Cash. Yep. He was from Black Sheep. He is the guy that's steering the spaceship in Jason X. And I'm pretty sure, I don't know if this is the last one on the list or not, but we'll find out. What did you guys think about the spaceship? I know Vinny, maybe I'm wrong, but I think Vinny loves Jason X. I think he does.
I do love Jason X.
Defend yourself, Vinny.
It's a fun movie. I mean, like they knew they were out of ideas, so they were just swatting at the wall. And like the movie's so ridiculous that it just sort of like there was no expectation. So by having no expectation, it was under promise, over deliver. With the movie, and it has like, dude, the holodeck, like some of it used it in a very inventive way. Basically, stole the aliens, storyline for the most part. But I just enjoyed it, and it was it's the first one I ever saw in the theater, so I saw it with my friends. We were cheering and yelling at the screen the entire time. We're the only ones in the theater. It was like 2:00 on a Thursday, or I guess first screening of it that day. It was a fun time. I'll always have fond memories of that movie. It's the first DVD I ever owned. Was Jason X. What else about that movie is awesome? I mean, the whole holodeck where like he's taking the sleeping bag and smashing the two counselors together. It's just hilarious. So I love Jason X. And Grendel is awesome. I mean, that is the coolest short bus ever in the history of schools. It's got literally 8 kids on it for a school trip that they're flying through space with a whole holodeck where they can play video games. Like, is that not the coolest college course you could ever take in your entire life?
Yeah.
That would be the best. Not
to mention that Friday the 13th, Jason Goes to Space, Jason X, whatever the hell it's called. I guess my biggest problem with this movie is the way it looks, because it looks like a made for sci-fi movie, made for TV.
Yeah, totally.
Yeah. But you can find anything good about any movie. Everybody's immortal now because there's no way to die. I know people die in this movie, but the nerd gets his arm cut off and they reattach it. They're bringing people that have been frozen for 400 years back with these nanobites. So technically, if anything is wrong with you, all you got to do is put these ants in you and they can fix you up. I mean, are we supposed to believe it's immortality has been reached in Jason X? I mean, do those nanobites do they prevent aging? Because that would, I don't know, because how can you justify anybody dying if you have the ability to put them on that a ship like that, which is not, we'd have to agree, it's not the most awesome ship in the universe, but you still have access to all this wonderful technology that can reattach arms, bring Jason back, fix his brain, fix his eyes. And so immortality is a thing now, huh?
I guess so.
Hope
The only
so.
way we're ever going to find out is by making Jason X2.
Is that your next movie?
Yeah.
I knew it. All right,
Ronnie, you've heard me say this a million times. I'm going to pitch it to Vinny so I can get a fake answer from him. I do think they missed the opportunity with this movie. I know the whole point was to see Metal Jason and let drowning pool play, let the bodies hit the floor or whatever. But if they would have done without the metal part and just had like those nanobites fix him and give him the Wolverine Deadpool where his body heals himself, and then he goes through a wormhole at the end and somehow lands back in 1981 Crystal Lake, and that explains how Jason heals and can't be killed. I just think they missed opportunity there.
Well, earlier in the movie, they're discussing his healing abilities before he gets frozen. So,
Right.
I mean, yeah.
Well, that's the whole reason why they're studying. Like
Yeah.
they capture him to do the research, which that I don't know. That was a part of the movie. Like again, like lore wise, I'm like, okay, this is way off. Like
Right.
he's not Wolverine. Like let's just get that out. Like you know what I mean? It was just sort of like they're grasping. Like at that point, they were grasping at straws, and Jason Goes to Hell blew the fucking bottom boards out of how low the franchise could go at that point. Where like Jason X was an improvement. And that's what I said to somebody the other day. Jason Goes to Hell was so bad that Jason X was an improvement.
It's true.
Here, I had to go back, and I'm sorry I wasn't paying attention to you guys. I had to go back in the chat because this is something I wanted to talk about with you guys. Dana Carvey asked, "Hey everyone, what are your thoughts on the upcoming movie In a Violent Nature?" Now, Blake, Bozzolini sent this to us, Blake, the trailer to this movie that looks like a point of view movie from The Killer.
I love POV.
Yeah, it looks like a Jason Voorhees wannabe movie. Vinny, have you seen the trailer?
I have. I've heard a lot of buzz of that coming out of a bunch of festivals. I know that came out of Sundance and did as well. And like I want to like it, but that's how I see it. It's like, okay, it's Jason light.
Yeah.
You want to make Jason so bad, but you can't. So you put him in another mask. And so what is that mask? And I think the mask they chose is, he looks like a minion from Despicable Me.
See, I haven't seen anything with the mask, so I wouldn't know. I thought it was like
No, it's like it looked like a hood from behind, but when you turn it around, it's got these two big eyes, like two big circles. It looks like a welding mask. And it just, I don't know. I'm not intimidated by it. It doesn't get that feeling out of me, but I do, from what I can tell, it looks like the kill scenes are creative. The cinematography looks really nice. It looks like it's well put together. I just wish that, like, again, we exist in this world where people keep making fake Jason movies. I would have rather have seen this as a Friday the 13th fan film and actually showing Jason and going on Jason's story, because it sounds like they're like the whole story is they find a locket, and then these kids find a locket. It wakes up this killer, and the killer chases them down for the locket, which is
spoiler alert.
Leprechaun
2009 Friday the 13th. It's a very trite kind of weak story thing. So I don't know. It depends. I have to see the movie. I have to see how they set it up. I mean, this isn't the description of the movie. That's like the synopsis of the movie. I'm wondering how it carries on with, you know, how long are you following him? Like, how are you getting dialogue? How are you getting context? So I think it's a very interesting take. I'm scared that I'm not going to like it. And then everyone's going to be like, well, you don't like it because you didn't think of it. I'm like, I know. It's just,
it looked kind of cool until somebody pointed out, hey, this looks like the Friday the 13th PlayStation or Xbox game. And then you go back and watch that short trailer that I've seen, and it looks exactly like if you're playing as Jason and you're walking, all you see is his back as he walks forward. I can't unsee that now. But at the same time, I was super excited by the idea of this movie. And Vinny, you went one route, and the only thing I thought of is they could have done this back in the mid-90s. I mean, or the early, this could have been the new Jason movie. You could have like said, okay, we don't care about starting a continuity type series. We're just going to make one Jason film from the vantage point of Jason, what he would see, what he would do and things like that. I think that would have been a great Friday the 13th movie. And I hope this movie's really good because the trailer is really good. So, but I mean, I'll be.
No, I think it's going to be cool. I think it's going to have some moments. It looks like it gets pretty brutal. I think the action is going to be there. I just think that there's certain things, like there's also a way that he walks. He does the thing where he like lifts his arm away from his body, and you can tell that he's separated his arms from his body in an awkward way. And so it's just like a little critique of being like, oh, the walk needs a little work. Like it's almost all there, but I don't know. It may win me over.
All right, everybody's still in the chat, and we got about 35 people in the chat. Hit us away with some questions. Anything you want to talk about with the Friday 13th series, Never Hike Alone. Any questions for Vin? And we're going to get him out of here pretty quick, so hurry up with your questions. Tommy Wilkins says, if you could switch out the final girl guy with someone else from each movie. I really don't know what this question means, but maybe he's thinking swap it out like part 6 girl in the part 3 movie. I don't know what this means. It was a lot better till I read it. So
give me Rick from part 3 and let's drop him in part 2.
Oh, I think what they're saying is like if within the more, let me see, if you could switch out the final girl guy with someone else from each movie, are they saying like someone like pick a different survivor for that movie? Like instead of it being Chris Higgins, it would be Rick type thing. Which I think in that movie, it should have been that way because Chris Higgins.
Oh, okay, Tommy. Tommy was answering the Peter North poll, which is give us some more topics that he would like us to talk about. Now, when you go back that, if you could switch out the final guy girl with someone else from each movie, that's a good topic, Tommy. We'll add that to the list. I'm sorry that I said I didn't understand what was going on. That's my fault. Let's see what else we got going on here. 400 years into the future, and they still couldn't find a way to kill or stop Jason. But here's the deal. They managed to improve Jason in the span of 30 minutes into the most unstoppable Jason. So there you go. But it did get kind of ridiculous there towards the end because it was more like everything they would do, he was still like chopping through these doors and stuff like that these spaceship doors, I guess is what I was calling them.
Hey, Ronnie, I have a question for our guest, Vinny.
All right.
I recently started arguing on Twitter with someone about video games. And I was wondering what his 3 favorite regular Nintendo video games were.
Great question.
Regular Nintendo?
Yeah, NES.
NES, I'm sorry.
Van, are you prepared while you're thinking? You mentioned in your stream the other day that you would like to start playing video games, streaming yourself playing video games. Are you prepared for the hate? You know, that whole fan base that watches that, those are like wrestling fans. They don't have a bit of sense.
They're nuts.
Oh, it's fine. I just wanted to play Red Dead Redemption and act like a cowboy. I used to love Excite Bike because I used to love building the tracks. Excite Bike was the shit.
Very fun.
Double Dragon 2.
Not 1?
Yeah. Not 1, 2. 2 was better. Definitely there. And then the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles arcade game.
Awesome. That's 2
3.
solid picks.
Oh, you don't think it was 3?
Oh, 2. Oh, I think it was 2. I think it was not the first one. The first one was awful. So hard. The underwater level.
Yeah, I know what you're talking about.
But the one that was modeled after the arcade game where you know, you get that one's the best. You can play multiple players.
Tons of blisters on my fingers from playing that game back in the day. Button masters love it. Nick Push asks, no cars from Vince's favorite movie, the 2009 remake.
Because all the car, like the Cadillac Escalade, that sucks.
Yeah,
that was the worst. That is probably the worst one.
I did have one car from that movie listed. I had the tow truck. The tow truck. The tow truck.
Tow truck from Texas Chainsaw Massacre?
Yeah. I had that listed on there because I think it's a cool looking truck. Davey Deathray, Vin, do you think the Yankees made the proper adjustments in the offseason to go on a real run this year and make it back to the World Series? Talk about sucking up, Blake.
Yeah, right. No, I'm just kidding. I'll believe it when they stay healthy, because the injuries always catch up to them. And as soon as Aaron Judge goes down, they eat shit.
I almost bought tickets to the Yankees game May 17th. They're playing the White Sox, but I didn't.
Allie says Clay's bike should have been included from the remake.
That's a good one.
Yeah, but Ali's bike's better. Ali's bike.
Ali's bike is better. Is there a scenario in the Friday the 13th franchise where somebody's escaping on a bike? I thought no. I
Yeah,
guess not.
in part 5, he's not escaping, but he's riding around on the motorcycle, Junior, and he gets his head cut off.
You're absolutely right. You know what? That was going on the list, but I couldn't find the picture where him and Ethel are on it, and she throws up that pull it right off. Another one that I wish I had listed was the Harley Davidson police motorcycle from part 1, because it's a pretty sweet motorcycle.
Yeah.
And the goofball that's the deputy, he sort of does the I'm going to show you guys I can spin out before he takes off out of there.
What about the greaser's car that's broke down in part 5?
I was going to list that, but I couldn't find a good picture, and I figured it's similar to what the pervert had. So
Yeah,
come on, mother.
It's a piece of shit.
Come on.
All right,
mother.
Vinny. We mentioned earlier it's WrestleMania weekend. Give me your Mount Rushmore of wrestlers.
Oh, Hogan, Ultimate Warrior, Macho Man.
Yes, very underrated.
And who would really fill that last one for me? Bret the Hitman Hart.
Yes.
Best there was, best there is, best there will be. Love Bret Hart.
JoJo 1996 says, for each of you guys, what would you consider your favorite Friday the 13th out of all the movies, including Freddy versus Jason, and explain your answer?
Well, I'm on an island here, and I understand that. After Ronnie and I did the rewatch and broke them down a couple of months ago, the original is my favorite. And
Really?
I'm sorry, it is. I love it. I think it is superior to all of them, even though it doesn't feature Jason. I think it's a fantastic movie. And I think if you don't think that, you need to go revisit it.
Go ahead, Van. Everybody knows mine.
Yeah, it's Jason lives till the end of time.
Yeah. So, I mean, one thing I will say, JoJo, is as me and Blake go through these reviews, and our next one is Friday 13th. Well, I guess I shouldn't say Friday 13th. Jason X, Jason in Space, is our next review we're going to do. The one thing that has happened in pulling out the pen and paper and making notes, and I talked about this with Vinny the last time he was on, is Friday the 13th part 4 is losing its luster a little bit to me. And Friday the 13th part 1 is increasing in popularity. Friday the 13th part 2, I think, is now a solid number 2 to my Jason Lives. And to be honest, Friday the 13th part 5, I think it ages better every year. And the people that don't like it are just the people that say, hey, it's not Jason at the end of it. I mean, if it's Jason at the end of it, everybody loves that movie. I think it's really good. Bud, who's donated money. Thanks, Bud. Terrible take on Megan, but we love your money. Does Vince have any faith in the Crystal Lake TV series?
I do. I think that I think for the first time, you're going to see Friday the 13th built by somebody who's actually a fan of Friday the 13th. And from what I know about Brian Fuller, to you, both of your good news is that he's like a huge fan of the first movie and is like really trying to take from that as much as possible. So I think what you're going to get to is there's a very vocal, very part of the foundation of the Friday the 13th fans that loves the first 4 films, that loves that tone, loves that setting, loves that look. And I have a feeling that that's what they're going to aim the series at. So I think that people are looking for that. That's what they're going to get. I think people like me who want like undead Jason, like ripping people's guts out in hospitals, like I don't think that's going to be the TV show, because obviously we're starting off with Pamela and all those different things, according to what the reports are. So I'm interested. I'm really interested in to see where they're going to go with it. I thought Hannibal was a fantastic series. So I'm just happy that Friday the 13th is in his hands and not, it's not just some, get rich quick movie that they're trying to do. Like that actually seems like there's a lot of care and attention going into this.
Davey Deathray says, in Jason Lives, the late night picnic couple gets run through while they're trying to escape on the little moped. Davey, the bigger question of that whole scene is not the moped. It's why did this guy take this girl or this woman out to the middle of the woods with a picnic blanket at night to do the dirty?
I put the answer in the comments, Ronnie.
They have a house, you would hope. What are they doing? And they're in their mid-30s. I'm pretty sure, Blake, let me know if I'm wrong. Somebody in the chat, if Nick Push is still in the chat, fact check this. Is the guy that's with that girl out there one of the people that auditions for Jerry in Seinfeld? Because I'm pretty sure he's one of the guys that auditions for George in one of those scenes with hair. I mean, I may be wrong, but now that I'm sitting here thinking about it, he looks an awful lot like him. So I wish I knew how to break away. Let's see. Bud says he is sold on Brian Fuller. I hope for the sake that you guys are all right when it comes to that. I really don't know. I've never watched Hannibal. All I have to go by it is the writer's room picture that I saw. Hopefully it turns out to be a really good series, but I honestly am not interested in a Friday the 13th series. I may be wrong, and I'll get on here and I'll say, hey, I'm wrong. This is great week-to-week content. I just want movies. And I don't know why I have that mindset. I don't want a Halloween series. I just want movies. I mean, if they're going to do a Halloween series, I'd rather it be like anthology and it's a different story every episode. And instead of sitting there and, oh man, I missed episode 2. I got to go back and watch that to make sense right here.
When did they break up?
Yeah. So, I mean, and I don't know. All right. Last call, Blake. Last call. Anything in the chat worth talking about? I think I got to all of our listener or channel member questions. It may be time we got to Piss, Jordan. We got everybody, Blake. So now is the part of the show where we start kissing a little booty.
It's my favorite part.
Vinny, thanks for coming on the show.
Of course.
We always appreciate it when you donate your time to our show. Our show is a very, very small show with a very, very small audience. For the fact that you've come on here so many times, we really do appreciate it, man. We are glad to have a relationship with you where, we can message you from time to time with ridiculous crap and you don't hit us with the, hey, F off, nerd. But we really appreciate it, bud. And I hope that your channel takes off. I like what you're doing with your channel. If I could give you one bit of advice on your channel, no more Godzilla talk. No, I'm joking.
Ronnie, we really need to because our resident Godzilla.
Blake, you're all over the place with that right there. I think he said make you, Vinny, the resident Godzilla expert.
I can talk Godzilla all day.
I never knew you were that big into, Godzilla and King Kong and stuff like that. So that was actually kind of cool to hear you talk about things like that. And very cool for you to shit all over my super chat when you said, thanks for going all out, Ronnie.
I was in spirit.
That was amazing. It made it pop, Blake. And I was like, but anyway, the question I asked you, what would your Godzilla movie be? Would it be monster centric or character centric? I liked your answer. I really did. And, when we think about you, we've got you pigeonholed right now as the horror guy, the Friday the 13th guy. And on your channel, I would love to actually see more of to talk more about the different types of films outside of the horror genre that you're actually interested in and would be, interested in being attached to, working on, and directing. So, like I said, you have a huge audience over there, and it's cool to see you reach out and talk to the people every week. So keep it up.
Thank you.
If you want to make some money, better start throwing some channel memberships out there, start flexing on some of these private shows for them, an OnlyFans account where they can watch you work out. That would be great.
Oh, yeah. I guess I could do that.
I'd watch that.
The ball's on you to put like a brand new Apple MacBook too in your Amazon wish cards. I mean, that's balls of steel right there. You got to come around the wheelbarrows.
Well, so here's the thing. When I first started doing crowdfund the guy who was teaching me how to do it he was like, you got to put things in there that you would never ask for, that you would never think that you would do, because you don't know. You don't know if all of a sudden like someone's going to jump in and do something. So you just put it out there, what's there. But I think it's also motivation for me, because I look at that stuff and it's the list that I see and I go, okay, these are the things that like I need to invest in for myself anyway, for work as it is. But I do want to put time and effort into the channel. I want to figure out a good way to grow it. And do those things. I mean, like right now I'm starting in the place where everybody knows me as, and I think I'm going to branch out a little bit more and talk about things that I'm passionate about. And I think that that's going to be the key. It's like, if I'm passionate about it, the show will sort of take care of itself. And if I'm trying to like just make shit up, then I'm going to struggle. Yeah. So, and I'm still like sort of still figuring it out and kind of going there. But, you know, one week we might have a guest, one week we might break down something. You know, I've always wanted to do a show where we talked about like the art of filmmaking and sort of looking at a movie from a different perspective, or saying like, if you go back and you watch it, or if you go back and you look at the film, the cinematic techniques of this person, or just look at the subtlety of these scenes and break things down. I think that would be fun, because I want to have those discussions with people who love movies and filmmakers and people who may want to know more about that stuff.
Hey, Blake, remember when Vinny said he was going to get us in touch with Tom Matthews to be on our show?
Yeah.
Did I not?
No.
Yeah, I thought I didn't put you guys on an email together.
We were going to send Vinny a empty box of a MacBook, and we thought that would be too mean.
He didn't have his address.
I would laugh my ass off. You
leave a nice note, Vinny. You deserve this.
You got to fill it with something like some sand or something. So that
we're so proud of you. You deserve this, and it's nothing.
Oh, great, JoJo. Thank you. What's the name of Vincent's channel? Give him the plug. I mean, Womp Stomp Films, right, Vinny?
Yeah, Womp Stomp Films, at Womp Stomp Films on everything. WOMPSTOMPFILMS.
See, I get so guilty of just enjoying the conversation that I don't give you the plugs that you need. So is there anything else that you need to plug out there that people can go to or whatever?
Yeah, I mean, everything that's Womp Stomp Films, definitely check out Never Hike Alone and everything that we have on the channel. Watch each one of our playlists of different things. We have original projects. We have obviously all the Never Hike Alone stuff. I really suggest people check out the behind the scenes, really cool stuff in there. And just keep an eye out on the channel for the next couple of months for upcoming crowd funds and new projects and all that stuff. We're going to be partnering with Kickstarter. We're actually leaving Indiegogo. We're going to be going to Kickstarter to launch a bunch of projects that some of them I'm going to direct. Some of them are going to be directed by friends of mine and I'm going to be producing. So I'm trying to put that like Jason Rising producer hat on and getting a bunch of Carl, James and I are working on a project. I'm working on a project with a few other people and basically just trying to coach up a bunch of teams that all have good ideas and then just roll them out in Kickstarter over the next couple of years and say like, hey, we're going to crowdfund for this in this quadrant. And then, another cycle goes by, we crowdfund for this one and we just get everybody on a schedule. And I want to build it in a way that we used to build our animation schedules, which was the waterfall schedule, where as you're finishing one movie, the other one should be wrapping up crowdfunding and getting ready to shoot and go do the next one. And what I think is really cool about that is that if we build a big enough fan base, that fan base can control an entire channel's content. You tell us what you want, we're going to put things up. You vote with your money if you want to see it. And if you want to see it, the money's going to be raised and we're going to make it. And if you don't want to see it, people aren't going to put their money to it and we'll go back and retool the idea and try something else. Then the idea is just to have a bunch of ideas ready to go so that we can just keep creating stuff at that level, that level that Never Hike Alone is at, but with some original ideas.
Yeah. All right, Blake.
What would the name of Jason in Prison? What would the name of that movie be?
Would he have long hair like in part 2? Or would he be bald-headed, Jason?
No, he's always. My Jason's bald. The hair always looks dumb. What was it called?
Jason Does Hard Time.
What's the fat redheaded cook from Jason Goes to Hell?
Oh, it's called Jason Goes to Prison.
Jason Goes to Prison.
Like Ernest. Ernest Goes to Jail.
That's a movie. And same thing happened. The execution girl, Ronnie.
That's true. And then he was shooting lightning between his legs at everybody. Maybe Jason will fly off at the end of it.
Maybe that's what maybe I'm just subconsciously ripping off that movie.
Such a good movie.
All right, guys. Smash the like button on your way out. Thank you to all the people that showed up to watch tonight. Thank you to Vin. I guess we now, Blake, can call him a true friend of the channel as he sits there in the dark, just waiting for us to hurry up and hit the stomp button right here. Blake, you made it through the technology. Guys, we've done it all. We've talked cars. We've talked motorcycles. We've talked spaceships. We've talked Jason going to jail. We've took Bud's money. Everybody have a great weekend. Vin, we will have you back. But next time you come back, we're going to talk some other movie. We'll talk. Don't leave. We're going to talk after this. We got to ask you for money. But we'll talk. We'll break down a movie or something like that. We appreciate you coming on the show. Everybody in the chat, have a great weekend. Blake, I love you.
Love you too, buddy. Hey, Vinny, before Ronnie signs off, Halloween Ends. It's a good movie, right?
Sure.
Okay.